This is the all-new, all-electric BMW i3, and it's one of the most important BMWs ever, because this isn't just an electric BMW, it's the first model in the next 3 Series generation. It lays foundations for the all-electric M3, and it's also part of BMW's new Neue Klasse family, a really important name that returns for the first time in decades. We're up here in northern Sweden, driving on a frozen lake in some of the most inhospitable conditions imaginable, and getting behind the wheel for the first time of a car that is crucial to BMW's future and a litmus test of its Neue Klasse strategy.
Neue Klasse is not a name to use lightly. The original BMW Neue Klasse cars of the 1960s didn't just save the company financially, they defined BMW's future. Compact, sporty saloons and coupes that put the driver first. That thinking laid the foundations for the 3 Series and, eventually, the ultimate driving machine. When you think about what BMW still means to this day, it all goes back to Neue Klasse. BMW isn't in dire straits this time around, but this new Neue Klasse is its attempt to repeat that success for the electric era, with a fresh approach to design, development, production and distribution, and what it describes as probably the biggest transformation in its history. The existing 3 Series will continue in evolved form, but the Neue Klasse is really where BMW sees its future.
Now, this isn't the first Neue Klasse model. That was the iX3 that we drove last year. But like that car, the i3 shares its clean sheet platform and what BMW calls its 6th generation eDrive technology, so basically all the electric stuff underneath. But the i3 did introduce us to this Neue Klasse design language when we saw it as a concept for the first time a few years ago. Now, clearly this is a camouflage prototype here, but you can see clear elements of that design language. So this plunging bonnet line, the way the shark nose front, these lights wrap into a representation of the thin kidney grille there. And it looks really fun to drive just standing still, so it looks compact, long wheelbase, short overhangs, but it's also clear that this car isn't as sculpturally sharp as the concept was, so the swage line doesn't look as crisp, glasshouse not as deep, and the rear end just isn't quite as interesting. We'll have to reserve judgment until the wraps come off, we see the production car, but for now, let's go for a drive.
For the production car, expect panoramic iDrive, a screen that stretches from pillar to pillar at the base of the windscreen, a hexagonal infotainment screen, and a redefined IT and software architecture that runs on BMW's OX10 operating logic. And yes, you'll also get this rather wacky steering wheel.
So this is BMW's second electric era, really. So the first, going back to 2013, was the all-electric i3, the original super futuristic city car that kind of existed within its own orbit outside of what BMW was really doing at that time. And then more recently, we've had the i4 and the i5. Now those cars kind of spun electric cars off existing platforms, so for the 3 Series and 5 Series, allowed BMW to do petrol, diesel and electric powertrains all off the same platform. But the compromise with that, of course, is having to compromise, so things like packaging, all the engineering has to be based around different powertrains. This i3 is freed from all that, it's a clean sheet platform, and in some ways it sits between those two approaches, so completely clean sheet, but it also forms the core of everything that BMW is doing going forwards.
BMW is using 2 different electric motors here as part of its 6th generation eDrive system. So on the rear, we've got a continuously excited synchronous motor. It's doing the heavy lifting, giving that rear biased feel. And on the front, an asynchronous motor that chips in when you need the extra traction and then can disengage to maximize range. So yeah, a clever way of giving you that all-wheel drive traction, but also maximizing energy efficiency. And BMW actually says it has been crucial in delivering 40% more energy efficiency than the previous 5th generation system. Those motors are powered by a range of batteries depending on which Neue Klasse model you choose. This car gets a 108 kilowatt-hour battery, and it uses cylindrical cells instead of a pouch of prismatic cells that creates greater energy density and faster charging speeds. Like all Neue Klasse EVs, there's an 800-volt architecture too, but you can still charge on older 400-volt chargers. Peak charging speed is 400 kilowatt, and we'd expect a range of just over 500 miles given the confirmed figures for the iX3. Now, we don't know how much this car is going to cost, but we do know that you can get a subscription to Car Magazine for a lot less. Every month we bring you the most in-depth features on the latest and greatest cars tested on road and track. stories of our adventures spanning the globe, and we essentially cut through the noise to give you the inside line. By subscribing, you'll save money on shop prices, never miss an issue, and enjoy delivery right to your door, which is free if you're in the UK. Simply visit greatmagazines.co.uk/car to check out our latest offers. In terms of suspension, we've got a McPherson strut design at the front, multi-link at the rear, weight distribution roughly 50-50, and a curb weight of about 2.1 tonnes. More importantly for our purposes today, we have got the so-called Heart of Joy computer managing all the dynamics of this car, and which BMW says will take its dynamics into a whole new realm. The idea, like many vehicle dynamics controllers, is that the acceleration, braking, steering, suspension and powertrain is managed by one controller. That's said to process information 10 times faster than previous BMW control units, down from at least 10 milliseconds to just 1 millisecond, and it should be key in helping BMW create a differentiated driving experience in the often one-dimensional world of EVs. Now, the snow and ice of Sweden is a great place to fine-tune that, because you're constantly going over the limits of grip and therefore able to tell just how smoothly the systems intervene and how well they complement the driving experience. And with EVs that can so quickly overwhelm grip, that is more important than ever. So we're out on the handling course in the new i3. I'm currently in sport mode, so just before I was messing around in the most conservative mode, and you can feel that the throttle goes quite soft as you're, maybe sort of my instinct says to use the throttle to steer it. It's quite soft, so now I'm in sport, I've got more steering weight and I find it more intuitive to drive. The steering in the regular mode is too light for me. Sport gives it more weight. We've got a fixed ratio. I've chosen not to go with variable rate, which I always prefer a fixed ratio, and I do like the steering actually. It's got nice on-center feel. It feels really kind of stable on center, but as soon as you turn it, the response is quite pronounced. It feels agile. We've got 50-50 weight distribution, or very close to, apparently. Don't know exactly how much it weighs, but I think we're looking at about 2,150 kilos, something like that, based on the iX3. Feels like quite a short, compact car. It's interesting because there are M3s and M4s here. The M3s and M4s look a lot bigger, and I think that's because this car has a longer wheelbase. It's 42 millimeters longer, so it makes the overhangs look really short, especially at the rear. So it looks like a very compact car. But I'm really looking forward to seeing how this so-called Heart of Joy system works once everything is off and it's just me with the electric motors, because there's no fixed torque split. It will go from 90% rear to 10 at the front to all kind of differences in between. We're now switching on to the dynamic traction control, so we've got the electric motors working for us and doing what we want in terms of responding to throttle, but we've now got a little bit of extra response from the traction control. I can feel it damping what I'm doing. I can feel the throttle kind of encouraging me not to press as much like now, and you can hear a couple of little brake interventions there as well as it's correcting and bringing me back into line. Let's try and get a bigger angle on. So as soon as I go for a bigger angle, it neutralizes it a bit and starts to push it into understeer. So clearly works very, very well. I think on the road where you're dealing with lower amounts of slip, I think that mode's going to work really well. On the ice here, I think everything off is the way to go. Heart of Joy is also about balancing energy recuperation with stability, even when cornering. You don't want negative torque upsetting the handling balance mid-corner after all, and it's clear this technology is seamlessly managing that while you can just crack on and have some fun. Along with the battery design and e-motor layout, it's key to this car's efficiency. Crucially though, if you're going to create a new 3 Series and call it Neue Klasse, you have to hit some pretty lofty dynamic benchmarks. It'll also need to take on the likes of the Tesla Model 3, Polestar 2, Hyundai Ioniq 6 and a new wave of Chinese opposition. This experience in snow and ice can only tell us so much, but on this basis, it's looking very promising indeed. We'll find out for sure without the camouflage and in hopefully better weather when the production BMW i3 goes on sale later this year.